president may be going full bore on zero tolerance, but his administration seems to be on the defensive about separating families. The head of Customs and Border Protection said today that Border Patrol agents would temporarily stop referring for criminal prosecution people who cross the border illegally with children, the mechanism that separates families in the first place. And the Department of Health and Human Services made an effort to show that the young people in its care are being treated well. They took reporters on a tour of a tent encampment serving migrant children ages 13 to 17 east of El Paso. Some people call it a detention center. HHS refers to it as a temporary migrant shelter. One thing's clear, the kids can't leave. There are 326 kids and 400 beds. 23 of the kids were brought here after being separated from their parents. 3 other kids who were separated from their parents spent time at Tornillo, but have since been reunited. Inside, they're surrounded by a chain-link fence, and the staff keeps them on a strict 13-hour schedule. They're marched in single file from the tents where they sleep to the tents where they eat to the outdoor yard where they play soccer. When I was inside, we weren't allowed to interview the kids. I did ask one how he was doing. He looked at me, laughed, and said, "You can't be serious." But we were allowed to talk to the private contractors who run the place, and they don't like the job they've been given. The facility's commander, who didn't want us to use his name, said the staff hates this mission. HHS claims the vast majority of children are able to contact their families within 24 hours of reaching the facility. But despite their confidence, what we found outside Tornillo is the opposite, a process that's messy and confusing, even to the experts.
Free the children now! Free the children now! Free the children now! Free the children now!
Buenos dias. This is my hometown. I was born here, I was raised here, and I came back to practice law here. And while I love it that you're here, I hope that when you go home, you're not gonna stop watching. Because this executive order did nothing but complicate the situation. It is not a solution, and nothing is going to change.
Several hundred people showed up to a protest outside of the Tornillo facility on Sunday morning. Melissa Lopez is one of the advocates fighting the child separation policy. Her organization is the only one with a contract to work inside the Tornillo detention facility. She'll provide legal aid to the children and work to reunify those separated from their parents as soon as the federal government allows her in. Among all your concerns for the kids inside, what is the top of the list?
I mean, for me as an attorney, I'm most concerned about their legal case because I know that their legal case is what is the ticket to being able to stay here in the United States in a safe place.
It's unclear when Lopez will be given access inside Tornillo, but she has more than 50 lawyers, therapists, and volunteers ready to help the child migrants.
So it's just little things that I have collected over the years that kind of keep me motivated, and I have it directly in my line of sight so that when I'm really struggling with something, I can kind of look up and there's a reminder.
So what are you going to be looking for when you go into Tornillo?
I mean, really our goal is to help educate the children and to help give them the resources that they need so that when they're released, they can seek out legal counsel and have, the best shot possible at obtaining legal relief that would allow them to stay in the U.S.
So you're going to be trying to explain to kids the legal system and what they need to do?
You wouldn't explain to a 2-year-old something the way you would explain it to a 17-year-old, right? But certainly, and sometimes, if we're not able to communicate information, to a child, obviously we want to try and make sure that we can get that information to family members or parents. And so my hope is that with all of the volunteers that we've gotten, that we can try and ensure that all the kids, as they leave Tornillo, have some good resources available to them, and have spoken with somebody who can try and guide them.
People united will never be divided! People united will never be divided!
The rally Melissa Lopez attended on Sunday was 2 things at once. On one hand, it was an expression of anguish over the ongoing family crisis down here. But it was also a glimpse into how Democrats are using the family separation issue to boost their chances in 2018.
My name is Gina Ortiz-Jones. I'm running for Texas's 23rd Congressional District. That is where you are standing. This moment in time is showing us that our leadership has failed us.
Texas's 23rd Congressional District is enormous, the size of the state of Georgia. And it's swingier than a lot of districts in Texas, in part because it's home to a lot of Latinos. In this district, both candidates are vehemently opposed to the family separation. The Democratic message is that if you want to stop Trump, you'd be crazy to vote GOP.
If you don't think this is right, not only this moment, but all the actions that led up to this, then November is the time to make your voice known. And look, the Republicans are going to continue to tout these policies.
Ortiz-Jones is a whole bunch of Texas firsts in one person. If she wins, she'll be the first member of Congress from this state who's an Iraq War veteran, and its first open lesbian, and the first Filipino-American. This run for office is also her first.
In Congress, that's what I'll do. Fight the tough fights and Donald Trump.
You're not in El Paso proper. You're not in Austin. You're in kind of rural Texas. And you got to convince people that being nice to immigrants is something that's worthwhile.
Yeah, this is also a majority-minority district, though. And so we all know, frankly, our stories did not start here. Unless you're a Native American, your story did not start here. When we think about the future of this district, of the state, and of the country, what kind of country do we want to be? What kind of Americans? What does it mean to be an American?
I mean, do you think that we will be talking about this in November still?
This is a stain on the American conscience, right? People will remember. People will remember the voices of crying children. So you can't be surprised and outraged when you've been complicit for so long.
But Trump is still talking about harsh enforcement on the border. And the more he does it, the harder it is for Republicans to talk about something else. Republican politics are different in Texas 23. Surely I'm not making a big claim here if I say that it looks to me like President Trump is not being particularly helpful to purple district Republicans right now.
I agree. I mean, we've got to stand up for what we believe and what we think. What I think on immigration is not the national position. So yeah, it hurts, I think, Republicans because of his rhetoric, but I also think people listen to us locally and understand that we are not just following the party line down the rule, because there's things that I don't agree with. I don't have to agree with them.
Will Hurd is fighting to protect the Dreamers. He's also
Will Hurd is the congressman from this district. He's a Republican, and he's one of the most vocal opponents of President Trump's border policy. Do you think that we're still going to be talking about this in November? And should we be?
Should we be? No. Will we be? Likely. But ultimately, an election is not about one issue. I don't believe in coattails either, in a positive or negative way, because I have an independent relationship with the voters within this district.
This strategy has worked for Hurd before. In 2016, Hillary Clinton won this district. So did Hurd. Hurd's challenge is to convince voters that his anger at Trump can be their anger at Trump, even though he's in the same party as Trump.
On this particular issue, I believe I'm representing a supermajority of my district who are appalled by the kids being taken out of their mothers and fathers' arms.